Hello and welcome, everyone. This is Kano and Asvin from the Victorian Electoral Commission, otherwise also known as the VEC. And today we're here to teach you all about your rights and responsibilities living in Australia as a citizen, regarding all your voting and all of those things. Asvin, how are you today?
I am well, thank you. And you, Kano?
I am good. Very excited to do this session. I think it's something that is very important. As being a citizen myself, being a migrant myself, I think voting is something that I take a lot of pride in, a lot of onus in, and I feel like it is something that we should all do. It is also a compulsory in Australia, but it's something that we're lucky and we're blessed in Australia to have that right, that everyone gets to vote.
Yes, correct. And then safely and freely into to our own choices, whomever we want to vote for. And it's unlike many countries that I think voting can be difficult and complicated. People physically safety around that. I think there are a number of stuff that we can talk about it today actually, and glad that to have you to host this and we can have conversation rather than me do a presentation. How's that sound?
That sounds very good, Aswin. And I think these conversations, these topics are needed, and we'll be coming back once every couple of months, couple of weeks, because there is an election coming up for the federal, which might be in about May. It's not confirmed yet, but it could be then. And for the for the state election, it's going to be in November on a Saturday, on the last Saturday. So we're here to teach you all about voting. So if you're a citizen, or if you've never voted, or you're about to become a citizen, this will be great for you to know.
Fantastic. Right. So how about, let me talk about myself a little bit more. So my name is Asvin Poraknam. I work for the Victorian Electoral Commission. We are an independent organization. We are and must at all time remain impartial in relation to all of our works. And we also need to be seen as to be impartial. There's a little bit of challenge there because people can read how we do things, that their perception of us, but at all time we need to act within the legislation and within code of conduct of the Victorian Public Service. And my responsibility is work with multicultural community in Victoria. Key important project for us is to ensure that people who are Australian citizens have the right to vote and voting with a purpose and intention, and then for them to actually select the candidates that represent their needs and their community. And yep, and then and another thing is that though it's very important for us that because we have elections coming up, also opportunity for culturally diverse community who can actually register with our website to actually to work on election days or in other roles, casual roles that potentially might come up from probably around June or July onward until the election day and after election actually. So if you are interested in working with the VEC on a casual basis, please look onto our website and maybe we'll after this I'll send you some more information to actually share with the audience. How's that?
Perfect. That sounds good, Aswin. Just a quick question for you. I want to know a little bit about you. How did you get involved with the VEC, working in the multicultural side? Is that a passion of yours? How come you decided to work in that side of things?
I came from Thailand in 1986. That's a long time ago. And I always see that participation and social inclusion is my number one passion, because my experience around in that space in where I came from, I came from a very poor background in Thailand, and for us participation is the last thing that we think about, and inclusion around that space, and came here being a migrant, and it's things getting tougher, though that kind of stuff we always conscious around what is it that we want to do, what is it that we can't do. And then I also feel that that we should be heard. And I used to work in health sector before I come to work for the Victorian Electoral Commission. I think one of the key things is that I see that having our voice heard and in places where decisions are made, one of the most important things that we do. And of course, voting in election, that's one of the highest form of participation, and voting freely and with intention.
Great points. Thank you for your for the introduction and a little bit about yourself. So a little bit about me. My name is Christian Devsi or Kano, and I originally came here from India when I was 7 years old. Similar story to a lot of you maybe that might be watching is when I first came here, had no idea what English was, moved here, no idea of the culture, and over time learned English, learned to develop these skills. And I think one of the things that I'm still developing, and I want other people, other young people, other older citizens to recognize is their skill to vote, and which is something that a lot of people, again, around the world don't get. And I think it's pretty special. It's a good thing in Australia that we have the privilege to vote and decide who's the party, who's the person in power. So I work at the Victorian Electoral Commission in the multicultural team. So my job is I work in the education team alongside Asvin, and we go out to communities and deliver sessions in their languages. So I speak Gujarati and Hindi, so I would go out to my community and teach them how to vote in their language. I think we have a lot of democracy ambassadors who go out and deliver content and teach you how to vote in your language, whatever that language is. And if we don't have that language, we can book in a free interpreter for you or a translator for you. So if you like to learn anything about voting or elections or anything like that, we can help you out regardless of the language or any barriers that you may have. So that is what I do a little bit at the VEC. And one thing I think we touched on a little bit, Asvin, before is impartiality. It's a big word. Could you put it to me in maybe
we must be political neutral, so balance in the middle. We cannot be seen to come across as supporting any political party, because our key responsibility is to deliver state and local councils elections. We're also looking after electoral roll. Electoral roll is when you become an Australian citizen, and on the day you get a form that they gave it to you, and I'm trying to look for a mock-up enrollment form. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me at home, and then you can enroll to vote. So that also we ensure that people enroll, ensure that people keep detail up to date. When you move or you change your name, so ensure that to let us know. But it's not that sometimes there are other things that's important in our life. So this kind of thing sometimes we forget. Today, Kano and I got up at 5:30. We drove to a festival. We worked there until we pack up about 4. And then we come home, had a shower, had something to eat. Now we sit here. We also found out that, not just multicultural community, it's go across the community that, when they move towns, they often enough forget, because they are more thinking of, connect electricity, phone, and all kinds of things. So they actually told us that they have moved, which is like, 20, 30 people come to tell us today. Or and after the COVID-19, people actually returned to Australia. And then they saw us. I thought, oh my God, we forgot to tell you that we have come back into Australia. Now we need to update our details and make sure that they can vote for the both federal and state election that's coming up very soon. So we spend our time today actually it's a good day. We ask lots of questions. We also talk about Australians, people who live in Australia but are yet to be Australian citizens, but own a home, pay council right. They can also vote for local councils. They need to enroll with their local councils. That's a special rule for non-Australian citizens who pay council rights can enroll for local council elections.
Perfect. Thank you, Asvin. And if you're just joining us, this is Kano and Asvin from the Victorian Electoral Commission. And we, as a part of our job as a commission, we're impartial. That means we're the referees. We're in the middle. When the election's going, we're the umpires, we're the referee, and the election is happening. We're not with anyone. We just run the elections, and that is all we do. And both of us, we work in the education team. So our job is to go out to multicultural communities and teach them how to vote. And this year we have 2 elections, federal, which will be coming up around in May, and then the state election, which we're from, which the Victorian Electoral Commission looks after, which will be in November. So, Asvin, can you tell us a little about the election cycle?
So, in Victoria, every 4 years, we have state elections. This year we'll have one in November, and another one will be 4 years later from this year, will be 2026. And local councils also happen every 4 years, but we have one years left in the middle here that will be free. Yeah, if so again, every 4 years we have a local council's elections. So it sets date every 4 years, last Saturday of the month of November, we have an elections. Every 4 years, last Saturday of October, we have an election for local councils. So that's a set date. For federal election, it's not a set date, but the federal election for a government term is 3 years. They can call an election at any time. So within that 3 years time frame. However, not however, I beg your pardon. And then we now, the current government term just about to expire in May. So we don't know, we haven't been publicly informed when the election day is going to be for federal elections. So we're kind of guessing at the moment that probably before the end of May, because that when their term expired.
Perfect.
So
And I think
we have 3 levels of government: federal, state, and local.
perfect. So again, 3 levels of government, which we all have elections for, which is federal, which looks after the whole of Australia. We have state, which looks after just Victoria for us. And then third is local. So local will be your local council. For me, I live in Werribee. So that for me, that would be Wyndham. You might live in Banyule, you might live in Bringbank, Maribyrnong, even City of Melbourne. Those are all little councils that happen. And Victorian Electoral Commission, we look after number 2, which is state elections, so with Victoria, and number 3, which is the local council elections. And the one election that is coming up this year is a level 2 one, which is the state election of Victoria, which it will be in November. So why do we have 3 levels of government? To give you a bit of information, level 1, which is the federal election. You can say it's the whole of Australia. So everyone in Australia, all states, all territory, everyone votes. And that election will be in a couple of months, maybe we think in May. And that election, they have a person called a prime minister, which currently is a person. So they're the prime minister of Australia. And when we vote, we decide on who the party is going to be, then who the prime minister is going to be. And why do we have level 1? They look after the whole of Australia. So big things like tax, immigration, army, all those Centrelink, all those big things, Australian Post, that affect everyone in Australia, they look after that. Number 2, we have state government, which is the Victorian government for us in Victoria. And we have a premier for that. And when we vote, we decide on the party that's going to run the government and the premier. And level 2 government, they look after everything that affects in Victoria. So things such as Vic roads, the roads, things such as education. Oh, sorry, Asvin, did you have anything to say?
State. Did you say state or local? I misheard.
Oh, sorry, state.
Okay, state. Start again.
Oh, yeah, sorry. State government, which is level 2, which look after the Victorian one. We have a premier, and when we vote, we decide on the party of the day, party of the government, and also the premier. And level 2, it looks after everything. The state government looks after everything that affects our state, which for us would be Victoria. So it's things such as Vic roads, which look after the roads, things such as transport, public transport. If you catch a bus, a train, or a tram, all of those is looked after by the state government. What are some other things, Aswin, that are looked after by state government? Can you think of them?
Primary school, secondary school, hospital, healthcare, things like some main roads that they're responsible for, fire brigade, and that's
police. So the Victoria Police, we have Victoria Police that look after that. So state government looks after all of that. Level 3, which is council elections, which are small elections that happen all across Victoria. I live in Werribee. For me, is Wyndham Council, and we don't have a premier or a prime minister. We have a councillor or a mayor is the technical term, and they look after small things such as how are the local parks going to look after things such as, I think, childcare. They sort of look after. They might look after rubbish collection. All those things are looked after by level 3 government, which is local council. So in Australia, we have 3 levels of government. Number 1, federal, which looks after the whole of Australia. Level 2 is state government, which is for us would be Victoria, which looks after everything in Victoria. Level 3 is local council, which for me is with them, but for you will be your local council, which looks after everything in your area. And the Victorian Electoral Commission, we look after level 2 state government and level 3 local council. And this year we have two elections. Level 1, federal election coming up very, very soon, and state level 2 election coming up in November.
Why voting is important?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why we talked about all these levels of government. Why is voting important? Why should you vote?
The reason we're voting because we want to maintain the services that we have been receiving from each level of government. Yeah, because we pay tax. Our taxpayer money go into the central my God, when gone blank, the government will be responsible for allocate all the funding and all to services and around Australia, or the state government, or within local councils. That's why we vote to maintain the services and the right and thing that we enjoy as a community and as individuals. And of course, for other people, voting can be important for this because it's some human rights and social responsibility that they feel that they have the right to vote, and human rights around I have the right to vote for whomever I want. I think that's some of the key things. And of course, some people might also looking at in terms of business. Yeah, business is important. You know, they are thinking about, okay, which political party or which government will support my business. And for some people might vote for social issues that's important for them, like human rights, equality, women issues, young people, and all kinds of things. People vote for all kinds of reasons. They always, because we have different needs, we have a different identity, we come from different background, cultural background, we have different gender, we have different level of education, we have different occupation or jobs. So then therefore, when we make a decision that suits us, how it's going to be benefit us. Yeah. And then of course, we're also looking at how it would benefit our family and our community and the area that I lived in, or my state or my councils. That's important for me. So I think that's a key thing for the people to that when they vote. And then when I go to vote, I always looking at what are the things that's important for me. You know, I would say that because I don't have a car, public transport is important. Yeah. And I also think that you know, healthy population need to have a good healthcare system. I also think that the healthcare system is really important. Also, we need to have population that is well educated and clever in order to move and progress forward. So I think that for me, education is also really important. Then the next thing for me is now I'm also looking at the social stuff, you know, human rights, you know, equalities and that thing. That's important for me. But for other people, they see things very different than me. They might looking at business. They might looking at the rights for travel freely, you know, the right to all kinds of things. And therefore, when we go to vote, we tend to vote for candidate or political party that suits us. One of the key things of the Victorian Electoral Commission is that we teaching people how to fill out the ballot paper correctly. We don't tell people which candidate or political party they should vote for. That we don't have the rights. The rights for people to pick the candidate or political party depends on yourself. So we don't tell that what we're very clear about always.
Well sum up, Asvin, and I think that's a great point to make, that your voting is completely private. We do not have a look at who you're voting for. No one else does. It's only you. You fill it in and you put it in a box and no one looks at it. We don't know your name. We don't know who voted for you. We just know that you voted and that's it. We don't know who you voted for. And I think that's a great point and why we should vote. And I think for me, one of the reasons in Australia, we're lucky that we have the chance to vote. There's countries around the world, democracies, where you can't vote, or you have issues with, and you might get in trouble if you vote. But in Australia, there's no problem at all, no issue. You don't get in trouble. No one's going to come knocking on your door saying, why did you vote for them? You're completely safe and it's completely private for you to vote. And also, if you become a citizen, it is compulsory to vote. If you don't vote, you get a fine. It's not a big fine, but it's still a fine. So we highly recommend that everyone votes. It's usually on a Saturday, so you don't have to worry about work or anything. But if that's an issue, you can vote up to 2 weeks beforehand at early voting centers, or
Yes.
we can even send you a letter to your house to help you vote. So our job is to make sure you vote, and we have many different ways to make sure you vote. And if you want any help with that, feel free to ask us questions here, or we'll also post our website in the link and in the chat, so you can access that as well. And one of the reasons that while we're talking about voting, one of the reasons that I vote is making sure that my voice is heard, because I'm a young person. I'm going to be living in this country, in this state for 20, 30, 50 years more. And I want to make sure that the future is what I want it to be, or how I want my kids, my family, and all of them to grow up in. And that is, I think, very, very important in Australia, that we can have that say. And every single vote matters, because if you think, oh, I'm just one person, but if everyone else thinks like that, no one's going to win. So it's important that you vote and you encourage others to vote as well.
Kano, you I remember we had a conversation around that you voted for the first time in 2018. Can you tell us about your experience a little bit more when you go, oh wow, I still remember, I can see your pictures in my mind when you tell me that you're so excited. Number one, because you work for us, and number two, your first experience. Can you tell us a bit more around that?
Yeah, so when I voted for the first time, I knew how to vote. I knew everything because I was working at the VC before I even had voted. So I knew all about voting, but I had never done it. So I was very excited to finally vote, to make my voice heard, to make sure I go there, number the boxes and put it in. And I still remember going in there. But even when I opened up the plan, I was a bit like, whoa, there's so many names, there's so many boxes to fill in. I got confused myself, even though I've been working with the VC for like almost a year. I got confused. So it is scary to vote, but there's people there to help you, and it's not as hard as you think. If you need any help, we're here to help you. And if you make a mistake, that's completely okay. You do not get a fine for making mistakes. You only get a fine for not voting. So even if you go in there, you make a mistake, that's all good. As long as you vote.
Okay.
And I still remember. Oh, sorry.
When we look at about the mistake on the ballot paper for 1 second, and then on the day, if you make a mistake on the ballot paper, you can always ask for a new one. Just bring your old one back to say, oh, I make a mistake, I want a new one. That's easy.
Yeah, and I think before you even go to vote, we talked about, for example, you're passionate about public transport, the environment. Likewise, me. How do you find out which parties, which candidates are supportive of the thing that you're passionate for? How do you find, because there's so many different parties, there's so many different people. How do you know who to vote for? How do you find that out?
It's because it is my passion, and I work for the Victorian Electoral Commission. So I read, I keep an eye on newspapers, new televisions. It's not so much a website. I'm not a fan of website too much. I think I tend to rely on the papers and the news, and certain news radio program that more credibility than others. I tend to listen to the one that more credible. And of course, my close network of friends, we are passionate about right to vote for the people whom we want. We're very passionate group of people when we talk about right to vote. And then because most of my friends were born overseas, and then voting is really difficult for some of us. And then we treasure that very, very much around having the right to vote freely and safely and then of course with intention who we want to vote for. We speak about certain policy. We spoke about certain things that we find it's great in a particular political party or candidate. I think it's like most people, they have family and friends, and then they have all kinds of sources of information. And then we also sometimes get candidates information that's dropped in our letterbox, local newspapers, and all kinds of things that relation of information, it help us. And I think one of the best way for me I found is also amongst my friends is that we speak about things constantly when we sit down together, because we it's a thing that we like to do.
I think those are some great ways to find out information. And it's important. You might not know everyone and the whole ballot paper, what everyone does. It's very, very tough if there's 20, 15 different parties or candidates. But as long as you know, your general of idea of who you want to vote for, I think you're better off when you're going in. And also, you're on your phone. We are on Facebook, WhatsApp, WeChat, all those places. We find a lot of information. Sometimes when you're walking across, you might see posters saying vote one. Those are some ways of finding out, this person's standing up. Do I want to vote them or not? It's completely up to you. And also, I think another thing that might pop up is when you go to vote sometimes. I know my mum, she had never voted, especially in Australia. Very different to India. In India, you go in, you press a button, and you're done. Here, you have to fill in 2 different ballot papers. You have to pencil them in, writing numbers. Very, very difficult. But when my mom came to vote, I actually helped her. So there's nothing wrong with helping if you want to bring along your kids or maybe someone else to come and help you. That's completely okay. But as long as they can't tell you who to vote for. So they can't be like, no, you have to vote for this party, or you have to put number 1 here, or they have to do this. That cannot happen. They can help you, but they can't tell you who to vote for.
Just like myself, I translate for my mom, and sometimes my brother I've done for her. So we always took our mom to vote, either myself or my brother. We explain things to her, and then she just say, oh, how about that person I saw on TV? Of course, she spoke in Thai, it's not in English. She understands English a tiny bit, but she seemed to just have a particular thing that she just pick up from somewhere, and then maybe at a temple actually, because she go to temple a lot, and then she just find out, just like me, I have a network of friends, so she has a network of people at the temple that she know, and then they kind of chat among themselves, and she tend to have very rough idea. She doesn't know the name, but she just heard about the thing that she want to explain it to me. I thought, okay, could my that be X, for example? So I tend to do that for her. But I think my number one is that translation. Make sure that I translate it well, clearly, and that's something that she understood. And it's not easy because it's the language can be quite complicated, and to be translated from English to Thai, some of the word that we don't have in our own language, so it can be again another layer of communication that can be quite complicated.
Perfect. And while we're talking about voting, and one thing I want to talk about is who can vote in Australia. These 3 things that you must do before you can vote. First is you have to be 18 plus. So you have to be 18 years of age to vote. Second is when you turn 18, you have to fill in an enrollment form, which is a form where you fill in saying, I'm 18 plus and I can vote. Also, you get that form when you become a citizen. You also have to fill that form in and saying, I'm become a citizen, I can vote now. And the last thing is you have to be a citizen. So you have to be 18 plus, you have to be Australian citizen, and you have to fill an enrollment form. That is the main things. Asvin, can you talk about the other types of enrollments?
Some of the we have many types of enrollment that people can do. Some of the most kind of common thing that we do, which is the not common actually. Some of the different types of you can enroll through. We call a general. I'm going to use a simple term, a general voter, where it basically means that you just want to if traveling to a voting center is further away than 20 kilometers, you can also enroll for that as well. So you permanently got sent a ballot paper at home to vote at home. So you don't have to travel that far to vote. If voting can be difficult for people, there might be not mobile, there might be not well, and there might be all kinds of reasons that you can enroll yourself as general voter. We can also silence voter. So silent voter meaning that sometimes some people might feel threatened by their partner, there's somebody else that they might have a dispute to, so they feel unsafe. So they want to move away from a public voters, which is basically anyone can get get access to your information from the roll, electoral roll. So they can apply to be a silent elector. So that's common for people to just, if they want to keep themselves safe away from being harmed. No fixed address. This is a very, very, very good way for people who actually know, and who don't have security, secure residential, because sometimes if you homeless, things can be complicated. You might need to move from one place to the next, to the next, to the next, and then election happens, and then you forget to vote. And then if you are on no fixed address, then you won't get fined. We would recommend that people, if you can vote, would be an absolutely great thing to do. But if you can't, hey, you're not gonna get fined because you're homeless. And then postal voter. So basically means that if you might be want to traveling overseas, you want to traveling to interstate and that kind of things, and then you thought, oh, I'm not going to be here. Actually, I want to vote if when elections happened. So you can apply for that. So we again send you the ballot paper for you to vote at the location you nominate.
Just a quick question we've had is, do you have to give a reason for voting early?
Before we used to do that, because for some people for work reasons, or they might need to go to medical appointments and all kinds of things. We still do that. We still required it by law. It become less so in general practice, because we know that the last state election we have like several 100,000 people voted early, and then some people just want to get away from them. On Saturday they just might be working, all kinds of things. So there's that we need to give them legitimate reason. Now less so, because people prefer to vote early. So if people to vote early, we just provide the service for people.
Perfect. Thank you, Asvin. And that's normally open 2 weeks before the main election, the main election day.
That we are talking about state elections, and then for federal elections, it's have a little bit of a different way of doing things. Especially we don't know when the election is gonna take place for the federal election, so I can't give you that. Yeah, for the state elections, yes, 2 weeks before.
Perfect. And I guess one other question we've had is, who is eligible for at-home voting? So the postal voting, who is eligible? Can anyone sign up, or is there certain requirements for that?
Postal votes, if you think you're going to be away, and then we encourage people that if you go overseas, or if you're going to be away interstates and that kind of things, if you can vote early, great, within that 2 weeks time frame, or you might go traveling for a long time but you still want to vote, so we can do that. But as long as you give us the correct address where you're going to be, and then we send the ballot paper to you. Then and then of course, like I said before, no fixed address. That for people who don't have secure housing. So in order for us to make sure that people won't get a fine, so we offer that service too. And the silent selectors, a silent voter, we ensure people's safety and security. People can do that. And then after this, I will send some informations to share with the group, and then we all kind of there are some requirements or eligibility or thing that you need to or eligibility category or things that you fall under for you to be able to apply for different voting role.
Perfect. And I think one of the main things for us at the VEC and us in the education team is we want you to vote, and we want to make it as easy as possible for you to vote. So if you have any reason that you can't vote on the day, or if you need any help, we are here and more than happy to help you. And we want to make sure if you can vote, we want you to vote, no matter what barrier that you have or anything that pops up. And I think that is very unique to us, the VEC, that we're very dedicated to our community. Even today on a Sunday, we've been up till 5:30 a.m. Working with the community.
One thing for us, I think, for people, for our communities, we tend to, before COVID, we know we tend to travel different varied time and when we go home, and often enough that we not from time to time we might, it's the same time as election. We want people to be able to vote. And then if you go into a city that have the Australian Embassy or High Commission, you can go to vote over there. But having said that, it doesn't always happen. So if you go overseas and you forget to vote, so keep your plane tickets or entry visa back to Australia. And then when you come back, you will get a letter to say, please explain the reason why you did not vote. We will say, and then you provide us the evidence. We just say, okay, yep, legitimate reason for not voting because you're not here. And that happened a lot because we do go home, to visit our families in different places.
And I think one question that I also had is, with COVID still present in the community, what precautions have the VEC taken to take care of the safety of the voters at the voting centres?
They are in November yet. By then, hopefully, we think we get much better. We are now in the process of looking for voting locations. We usually have our voting center in a school hall, the doors open, and then because it's in November, we usually have the door open because it's that for air circulation, that kind of things. And then I'm yet to find out more in terms of the detail. We have spent enormous amounts of time to do to reduce any risk for voters and staff. Definitely, we absolutely. I think the team special team is doing nothing but looking at how are we going to keep the staff safe and the voters safe. And then, of course, if you are concerned about COVID-19, you can do a postal vote, which people did it in Queensland. A lot of when we went to Queensland elections, it happened in the midst of the COVID-19. A lot of people do postal vote.
Perfect. Thank you. And I guess one of the questions is, we've voted that you have to be 18 and you have to be a citizen to vote. Is, in terms of enrollment, is there an end of date that you have to enroll by for the election that is coming up this year in November?
Okay. For state election, it's the 8th of November.
So by the 8th of November, you have the enrollment form, you have to have that filled in and given to the VEC, or you can fill it in online. If you don't fill it in before then, you will not be on the roll, and you.
I will make sure that I give you. Have I freezed up? Sorry.
No, you're fine. You are a bit freezy, but that's all good.
No.
Do we have it?
Am I?
I think you're good now. You're good.
Okay. Wait. I just want to really check about the close off and enrollment day to make sure that I give you a perfect date that is right. Yeah. I'm just opening the document.
Yep, that's all good. And while Asvin's looking that up, in terms of any information or anything, I know we talked about a lot of things today, and we haven't even covered about voting yet, which we'll cover in future sessions. But any information that you need or anything, I've put down the VEC number, which is the general. And then also I've shared down the VC website, which is in your language. So we have up to 20 languages where all the information that the VC has, it has been translated in your language. And we also have if you have any other needs, we also have numbers which are in other languages. So if you speak a certain language and we do not have that language translated, we can help you and we can get it translated on the phone. I'll post that in the chat as well. So any other languages? Yep.
Go. I'm sorry. I am interrupting. Go.
No, you're fine. So any other languages, we have an interpreter service which you can call and we can help you out with anything. Did you find the date for the enrollment?
Yes.
Close of enrollment?
8th of November.
Yeah. So again, so you must have filled in the form by the 8th of November. You must be enrolled by that date to be able to vote in this upcoming election. If you do not enroll, you will not be able to vote. So you have to fill in the form before the 8th of November if you're eligible. So you're over 18 and you're a citizen with the state election, you must fill in that form.
Okay. Or if you move to a new place and you need to update your details, you use exactly the same form, enrollment form, or you change your name. When you get married, you change your name. Or you might change your name for all kinds of reasons. In Thai, the Thai culture, this is something that we kind of superstitious things. That oh my God, I have been blessed by Buddha for 15 years, so I'm gonna change my name. They do that. They just get their name changed, go to a monk and read palms and all kinds of things. And okay, this is this is auspicious name for you for this reason, and they just took it, and then they go to what do you call them? The Thai government to say, oh, I would like to change my name to this, and they change their name. So that would be, it's common in Thai. It's common. So they to increase my luck, I want to change my name.
So if you do end up changing your name or your address, you have to fill in the form to let us know that you've moved the address. A lot of the times you might change your bank address, you might move your postal address, but sometimes you forget to change enrollment, which you must do because we don't know if you moved otherwise. So sometimes you might send a ballot paper to the wrong address because you haven't let us know that you moved the address. So that is something very important to make sure. And you can actually check your enrollment online. So if you have any questions, I'm not too sure when I'm enrolled, or I'm not even sure if I've enrolled, you can go on our website. I can find it for you, and you can check where you and only you can check it because it needs certain details. So you can check if you're enrolled and where you're enrolled as well.
And it's I have to say that like today we had 20-30 people come to our store to say, oh my God, I forgot to update my detail because I moved.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Asvin. Last question to finish off today. As we know, we have 2 elections coming up. Level 1 coming up in a couple of months. We're thinking around May, but it's not confirmed yet. And then level 2, which is the state election, the Victorian election, which we run, it will be in November, which is still a bit away, but make sure you're on top of it.
Yes.
My question to you is, why should everyone vote? In one word, or maybe one sentence, why do you think people should vote?
To be heard.
Your voice.
Yes, it's important to be heard.
Perfect.
And
Thank
you
you so much.
Hello?
For me, for me, it is for change. Put me on the spot. For me, it would be for change. For change. Okay. We live in a country in Australia where we have the opportunity and the chance to create change and pick our change. And I think that is very, very special, and not that everyone in the world gets. So I think for me would be change.
Yes. Fantastic.
Perfect.
Have a good night, everyone. Good night, Kano, and great chat.
Yeah, thank you, Aswin, for the amazing chat, and thank you, Saleha and the Chai Chat community for giving us the platform to get on here on a Sunday night to share why we're so passionate about elections, why we're so passionate about our communities, the multicultural community, getting out there, voting, and having their say, because we feel it's very important and it's all our right and a responsibility to make sure that we vote. So thank you so much. Any questions, anything, we have linked the website in the chat. But if you want any specific questions, feel free to reach out to us. And in the next sessions, we'll be covering off how to actually vote in the sessions. which will be very interesting. So thank you so much. And we hope to see you vote in November.